Throwing pottery on the wheel looks peaceful from the outside. The wheel spins steadily. The clay rises beneath the potter's hand. Everything appears calm, almost effortless. But beneath that calm surface is something incredibly powerful: concentration. In wheel throwing, concentration isn't just helpful, it is essential. The moment the wheel begins to spin, your attention has to shift completely to the clay in front of you. Every movement matters. Every ounce of pressure matters. Every change in speed, every position of your fingers, and every breath can influence the shape that begins to emerge. The wheel has a way of exposing distraction. If your mind drifts for just a moment, your hands often follows. You might pull one side higher than the other, applying uneven pressure, or accidentally thin the walls too much. A split second of inattention can turn a perfectly centered cylinder into a collapsed lump of clay, not because the clay is unforgiving, but because the clay responds honestly. It reflects exactly what your hands are doing. That is why many potters describe wheel throwing as a conversation between the mind, the hands, and the clay. Your hands cannot guide the clay well unless your mind is fully present. And when your mind is elsewhere, thinking about tomorrow, replaying yesterday, or worrying about something outside the studio, the clay often reminds you to come back to the present. There's also something almost meditative about this. Modern life constantly divides our attention. We answer messages or watch movies while eating. We think about work while talking with family. We scroll through our phones while watching a match. Our minds are trained to jump from one thing to another. The pottery wheel refuses to work that way. It asks for one thing only: your full attention. For those few minutes while you are throwing, everything else fades into the background. The only thing that exists are the spinning wheel, the movement of your hands, and the clay beneath your fingertips. Many potters say this is one of the reasons they fell in love with clay and with ceramics generally, not simply because they enjoy making pots, but because throwing gives them a rare opportunity to be completely present again. There's no room for multitasking, no room for rushing, no room for divided attention. Only the next movement, the next pull, the next breath. Interestingly, concentration also brings confidence. Beginners often hesitate, their hands become uncertain because their minds are filled with questions. Am I doing this right? Is the wall too thin? What if it collapses? Those thoughts create tension, and tension often transfers directly into the clay. As experience grows, concentration becomes quieter. The potter stops overthinking every movement and begins trusting what their hands have learned through practice. The focus remains, but it feels more natural, more relaxed. The clay responds to that calmness. It moves more smoothly, the hands become steadier, the process becomes more enjoyable. Perhaps this is the greatest gift the pottery wheel offers. It teaches us that concentration is not just about forcing the mind to focus, it's about becoming fully engaged with the moment. When your attention is completely absorbed in the clay, time begins to disappear. Minutes feels like seconds. The outer world becomes silent. There is only the rhythm of the spinning wheel and the quiet conversation between your hands and the earth. And maybe that lesson extends beyond the pottery studio. In a world filled with constant distractions, the ability to give your full attention to one thing has become increasingly rare. Yet the pottery wheel reminds us that beautiful things are often created not through speed or multitasking, but through quiet, undivided concentration. Because every successful pot begins with centered clay, but every meaningful training session begins with a centered mind.